Hi everyone, and welcome to CreativeChelsey. If you like this video, please let me know by giving it a thumbs up or commenting below. If you want to see more of my videos, press the subscribe button and click on the bell for notifications. If you need any Stampin' Up! Products to make these cards, you can visit my online store, and the link is in the description box below. So today I'd like to share with you an alternative project that I have created using the May 2020 Paper Pumpkin Kit, a kit in color. So in your kit, you get everything you need to create the original project. And these are the cards that you can make from the kit. And I really love them. I thought they are super cute. And so what I'd like to do is I like to take these supplies and turn them into some alternative projects. So this is one of the cards that I created for an alternative project. And then this is the second card I made using one card base. So I'll show you that in a minute, but this piece of paper and this piece of paper both came from the original card base here. So you can see that we have the back and the front, and we've cut that, and we're able to create two cards with it. So don't forget to sign up for next month's Paper Pumpkin Kit. So this includes the supplies to make 8 handmade cards, and then you can repurpose the box and place some fun things inside and give them away to someone who needs a little bit of cheer. In every Paper Pumpkin box, you will receive a fun stamp set. And so this is the stamp set that came in May's kit. And it includes some really great big greetings. You're amazing, hey, and oh happy day. And then it also has some fun rainbow images plus some little elements that you can use on your cards as well. So let's go ahead and make these cards. So the first thing you're going to need to do is cut down a card base. And I'm using the Just Jade card base. And you're going to start by removing the front from the back. And you can just measure it at 4 inches. And then do the same thing to the back, 4 inches. And then you've removed that score line in the middle of the card base. And then go ahead and rotate and cut again at 5 1/4. And do it to both the front and the back. So the next thing we need to do using our paper trimmer is to cut this envelope apart. And so I'm using the pumpkin pie envelope, and I'm just going to trim off the left and right sides, and I'm just doing a very slight trim. So maybe like 1/8 to 1/16 of an inch off on both sides. And then that will let me open this up, and I'm just going to remove the white side from the colored side. So I'm just going to cut that right down the middle. Now I am going to use this for my stamping, just because I'd hate to waste paper. And then we are going to cut out our circles from this piece of paper. Okay, so go ahead and place these to the side. Okay, so we're going to work on this card first. And so let me walk you through some of the other things you're going to need to make this card. You're going to need a piece of thick Whisper White cardstock, and it's just cut to your normal card base size, which is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2 and scored at 4 1/4. Then you'll need the back side of that Just Jade card base, and that's again cut down to 4 inches by 5 1/4. You'll need the small size of cloud. So just go ahead and carefully remove that from the sheet and place that to the side. You'll need the back side of the envelope for stamping. And then we're going to be cutting out 2 circles from this orange inside of the envelope. And I'm going to actually cut them from the top. And I know there's a crease here, but I can hide it behind some of my other elements. And then I can use this for another card. So I'm using a circle die from the Layering Circle framelits or dies. And this is just the old packaging, but it comes with 16 different sizes of circles. Well, I guess 8 different sizes of circles and then 8 different sizes of scallop circles. And so I'm using the size that's about 2 1/8 inches in diameter. But if you had like a 2-inch punch, that would work as well. You could even go a little bigger or a little smaller depending on what you have. So I'm going to go ahead and place that all the way up to the top of my envelope and to the left, and I'm going to run this through my Big Shot. Okay, so I've gone ahead and cut that out, and then I'm just going to place this in my other card pile because we're going to do the same thing, but we'll do it when we make that card. And then you'll need a piece of Whisper White cardstock, and this is for our sponging of the clouds. And this piece is 2 3/4 inches by 4 inches. So let's go ahead and start with that sponging technique. So I've used it on the Just Jade as well as on the Whisper White. So for this technique, you will need to have one sheet of the clouds, and you're going to remove all 3 sizes, and you should probably remove the label as well. And then you'll need some pieces of washi tape or other easy to remove tape. You're going to want a piece of scrap paper to protect your surface, and then just go ahead and tape down your Just Jade cardstock, and then you're going to keep the some tape on your stencil, and that's just going to keep things from being able to move around too much. You're also going to need your Stampin' Spot that came in your kit, and the color is Misty Moonlight, and then either a sponge dauber or a sponge. And so I really like these. They're pretty inexpensive. You can get a packet of 5 for $5 from Stampin' Up. And again, the link to my online store is in the description box below. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to move the clouds around into different areas on our cardstock to kind of get some different cloud shapes in this background. So you're just going to ink up, and then that ink's pretty strong. So you're just going to tap it off a little bit until it lightens up slightly. And then you just start to blend it into that space. And you want it to be the darkest around the edge, and then it can lighten up a little bit as it moves into the cloud. Now it might look like you're not getting a lot of color, but when you lift the stencil, it's going to be very colorful, and you can see that outline really well. So just kind of stay to that top edge and don't really come around and bend into the cloud. We're just wanting to do clouds from about halfway and up. Okay, so then go ahead and lift that, and you can see that we've got some good sponging going on. So then go ahead and move it and shift it down to another location. I've placed it so that bottom edge of that cloud is now touching the top edge of this next cloud. So go ahead and ink up, tap off a little bit, and then sponge again. And I really like this technique because it just adds a very subtle texture and shapes to this background cardstock. So it's not too distracting, and it's a really nice background. Okay, so just go ahead and add that. You want to make sure that you stay away from this edge, or you're going to get a solid line there, and the same over here on the left side. And then lift that up. And then we can flip it if we wanted to do some that are upside down. So again, I have an edge here that stops, and I'm just going to line that up with another cloud. Put down the tape so it doesn't move, ink up, dab off, and then sponge again. So it's nice that the top and bottom of these clouds are actually different, because then you can use them and flip them around and create some different shapes. Now if you want it a little darker, just go in and add another layer of color. Okay, so then I also have some small So we can also use some of the smaller clouds as well. So if you wanted to, you can come in here and just kind of squeeze in a small cloud. Make sure to tape it down and hold it and tap off. And then again, we're just doing about half that cloud. If you wanted to, you come down a little bit further, you could, but don't do the full cloud. You're just trying to get a little hint of clouds back there. And then maybe do a tiny one over here on the right. And there really is no right or wrong as to where you can place these clouds. So just go ahead and experiment and have fun. So there's another one. Let's put one up here at the top. Let's do a medium size one. Actually, no, we'll do a small one. We'll just kind of squeeze that one in there. And I am going to go ahead and do that whole cloud for that little one. I think it looks better than leaving it undone. So these small ones, I've done the whole thing. On the medium, I've kind of come around and then left that open. And then on the big ones, I've just done the top half. Okay, let's do a medium size one. I'm gonna go ahead and move this tape so that I can access this bottom edge. I'm gonna put another medium size one right here. Tap off that so you get a lighter color. Make sure you put the tape down so the stencil doesn't move on you. And I'm really just doing a very light, I am not pressing hard at all. I just really want a nice light color for those clouds. And then let's do a small one down here in this corner. So this is just a fun thing. It will take a little bit of time to do, but once it's done, it really has a fun effect. So there we go. Now before we place this off to the side, if you have the Wink of Stella, it's a really fun thing just to add a little bit of this on the top of each cloud. And you're just gonna swipe it back and forth on each top of the cloud just to give it a little bit of shimmer. Now it might tint your Wink of Stella slightly, so go ahead and just brush that off until the ink goes away. All right, so I'm not sure if you can see all that shininess, but it really adds an extra special touch to that background. So we're just gonna do the exact same thing now on our smaller piece of Whisper White cardstock. This is going to be more of a focal point instead of a background. So again, start with some of the larger clouds, and just tape everything down so it doesn't move on you. And go ahead and ink up and then dab off, and then just start rubbing it on. And you can see with the white a lot better than with that Just Jade cardstock. So you really want to just use a very light pressure just to kind of blend in that blue color into our clouds. And then once you have one, go ahead and move it. Maybe flip it to get another layer of clouds. And we're gonna move it so that it touches that bottom edge, and just do, oh, I forgot to tap off. So this is gonna be really dark right there. And then just come all the way around, making sure not to move that stencil any till about the halfway point. And then you can just blend in a little bit more. Okay, and then let's use some of these other sizes. I'm going to move my tape slightly, reposition it over here, and then use the medium one, maybe right here. Tape it down, ink up, tap off, and then start blending that. Just very, very light pressure. Okay, and then looks like we've got a couple places that could use a little extra, so I'm going to add the small one up here in the corner. Tap it off, just a little small cloud up here, just in the background. And then let's do another small one in this area. Go ahead and tape that down and add some color. Nice and light if you can. That one got kind of dark on me. Okay, so let's go ahead, and what we're going to do is we're going to remove this tape, and then we're just going to kind of fill in a little bit. So just get a really light color on your sponge dauber, dab it off until it really lightens up, and then just bring a little bit of color down into that white spot a little bit more, so it feels a little bit like a fuller cloud instead of just the edge of a cloud. Okay, and then any spots that maybe you want a little lighter or you want to fill in a little bit. You can even go along the edge with your sponge dauber and give that edge a nice little blue outline. Okay, so something like that. Now yours could look totally different, just kind of that same general idea. And then we're going to add the wink of Stella to these clouds as well. So just go ahead and paint on a little bit of glimmer just to those top edges. Now it's going to pick up a little bit of ink just like before, so just be a little bit careful not to go too far beyond that outside line, because we do like that kind of crisp line for our clouds. Okay, so something like that. Can you see that shiny? Love it. Make sure to clean that. It would be horrible if you were to move on to something and add a little bit of blue where you didn't want it. So let's go ahead and we can put these two pieces off to the side while we do our stamping. So for our stamping, we're going to stamp on the back of our envelope, just the side that's white on both sides. And if you have a paper piercing mat, you can use this. It helps give a nice clean image to your images. So we need to stamp the word hey, and we're going to create a rainbow. And then we're also using the word you from You're Amazing. So let's start with hey. Now, if you're having a little bit of a hard time getting a nice clean image with your larger stamps, one trick I like to use is to use VersaMark under the ink. So VersaMark is kind of like a sticky glue ink. And so what this will do is it will help our ink stay in one place instead of pooling in some of those larger areas. And so you're going to get a cleaner image if you're having a hard time with it. Now I know there are some other tricks out there that you can look up and find, but this is the one that I like, and it's really simple to use. So you're just gonna go ahead and stamp this on your envelope, and you can stamp it anywhere because we're going to be fussy cutting it out. We're also going to stamp the U in You're Amazing. So go ahead and ink that with VersaMark if you need to, and then just ink up that one side where the word you is, and then stamp that. And now we're going to do our rainbow. Now your image has a thin image. Let me show you the stamp set. So the stamp set line is pretty thin, okay? But I wanted a nice thick image for my Melon Mambo and my Misty Moonlight color, but then I wanted to use the thin line for my pumpkin pie color. So what I did is I actually reversed my stamp. So on the opposite side of the original image, so the thin side, is the nice thick side, and it actually goes in that same shape of the rainbow. So I'm going to use the back of my stamp for the large part of the rainbow. Then I'm using the correct side for my middle, and then for the small side, or for the small arch, I'm using the back side as well. So let's go ahead and do that. So I've got my paper, and again, I'm going to ink it with VersaMark first, and then I'm going to use, I wanted to use another really bright pink, so I'm using Melon Mambo, but you could use any red or pink that you have. You're going to ink up that back side, and that's going to give us a nice thick border. And I'm just going to place that down here on the bottom. So a nice thick border. Do you see that? I love it. Turned out really good. And then I'm going to use pumpkin pie for the inside arch. And I'm going to ink that with VersaMark. And this is going to give me a nice thin border for our middle arch. And I'm just going to do my best to line it up. I'm lining up the bottom pieces and then letting the top kind of fall where it wants to, like that. And then lastly, I've got my small arch, and I'm inking up the bottom of that stamp. So it's going to give me another thick image. I'm going to use the Misty Moonlight that came in the kit. And then I'm just again lining up those bottom and letting the top kind of be where it is. And so now I've got a nice thick rainbow. Okay, so one of the reasons I wanted a thicker rainbow is because this text is thicker. And so I wanted them to be able to play off one another and not have my rainbow get lost behind my nice big hay. So let's go ahead and we're gonna fussy cut these images out. I'm gonna just do the rainbow on camera, and then I'll go ahead and just cut these ones out off camera. So I like to leave about a 1/16 of an inch or so around my images. If you like a bigger border, you can, or if you like no border, that's fine too. And then come down, and you can choose to either do it straight across and have them all be even, or you can kind of follow that stamp and create kind of some interest by having them be uneven. And then come all the way into that arch, and then swing around and come back down. And then come back around and finish it off, just like that. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and finish cutting out hay and just the U, and then we'll be right back. All right, so I've gone ahead and finished fussy cutting those images out, and now we're ready to put our card together. So you're gonna start with your card base. Go ahead and fold that along the score line and grab a bone folder and just help make that nice and flat for your crease. Then you're going to add your Just Jade background piece. And I like to use liquid glue, so I'm using this multi-purpose liquid glue. Just place a little bit on the back and then add it in the center of my card base so that it's nice and even all the way around. And then use that bone folder again to just smooth out the glue. Before we can add this piece, we're going to take 14 inches or so of the twine that came in the kit, and we're going to tie a bow. And we want this bow to be about center on this piece of cardstock. So just bring up those ends until they are about the same size. So this one's a little bit longer than the other. So I'm just going to kind of pull it over until they're about the same size, like so, and then tie a knot. And then you can bring that to the center by grabbing the front and back and twisting. And you want it about 1 inch from the bottom. Now we can add this to our card with a little bit of glue. And we're placing this in the bottom left corner. So you want about 1/4 of an inch on the left and the bottom on these sides. And then go ahead and smooth that glue out. So once we're at that point, we're going to add our orange circle and our rainbow next. And so there's a crease here because we cut along that crease in the envelope. And so I'm going to place that crease near the top so that I can cover it with my word hey. So I do want it to be at a slight angle. Add a little bit of glue or adhesive, and then make it so that you've got about 1/4 of an inch or so on this right side and maybe a little bit on the bottom. And then add that to your card. Now we're going to add our rainbow, and that's just going to go over the orange circle a little bit and into our sky. And it's just going to sit right above our twine, like so. Next, we're going to add our word hey and our cloud. And before we add our cloud, I'm going to add some more Wink of Stella to this. So I have a nice clean Wink of Stella brush. I'm going to shake and add a little Wink of Stella to this cloud. I'm going to just try to get it all over so it's nice and shiny. Can you see that? Okay. So we're going to add both of these images with dimensionals. So your kit came with some large dimensionals, and if you want them to be a little bit smaller, you can just take some scissors and just cut straight down that strip, and then you'll get half-size dimensionals, which might be a little bit better for some of these smaller images. You just want to make sure you're supporting that element. So if you think you just need 1 or 2, you can do that. Just make sure that the element is being supported, and then that kind of comes down below your rainbow, so it's covering your rainbow slightly. It's just at that bottom part of your circle. And then do the same with your hay, add some dimensionals. And then you just want to place it so it's at an angle and it's covering up that score line. And so a little bit of it can kind of go on your cloud. This one's a little bit too low, so I'm just going to kind of pick it up and move it up just a little higher so that I can put that hay on my cloud. Like so. It looks like I need a dimensional under that bottom H. So I'm just going to trim one that's about the right size and then add it. Take off the paper on both sides, and then I can just add it to that bottom part of the H. Okay, like that. And then very last, we're going to add our U. And we're just going to place that under your hay in your cloud. So just put a little dab of glue on your cloud and then add your U over that. And make sure it's nice and straight. Okay. So now we're going to finish our embellishments. I'm going to tie this twine into a bow. You can fuss with it a little bit if you need to. And then we're going to add some rhinestones. Now the rhinestones did not come in the kit. These are just some basic rhinestones you can buy from Stampin' Up. This is an old pack which had them in a line, but they are exactly the same. They're just not in lines anymore. They're individual, which is really nice. So you can just take your pickup tool and grab 3 of the small sizes, and you can place them really anywhere you want on your card. I'm going to just put 2 up here and then 1 down here below my hay. All right, so that first card is all done. I love all the extra elements and the layering and the fun big images. So for our second card, we're also going along with the cloud theme. We're going to be using one of the large clouds die cuts from the kit. So you can go ahead and remove that. And then we're also going to be using the outside edges of the large and the medium size. So go ahead and remove your medium cloud, and we'll use that on a different card for another day. So just place that to the side, and also remove your label just so you don't accidentally cut it. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut around and leave about 1/8 of an inch or so around both the large and the medium clouds, and we'll do that in a minute. We're going to cut ourselves another circle out of the pumpkin pie envelope, and we're using the front of the Just Jade cardstock that came in the kit. We're actually going to cut it down just a little bit. So grab your paper trimmer, and we're going to cut this to 3 3/4 by 5 inches. And then we're also going to need a piece of Melon Mambo cardstock, and this is 4 inches by 5 1/4, and then your typical card base, and this is in a thick whisper white, and it is 5 1/2 inches by 8 1/2 inches and scored at 4 1/4. So let's go ahead and put some of these pieces that we don't need right away to the side, and let's cut out our circle from the pumpkin pie envelope. And it's going to fit just really nicely over here on this other side. So I'm going to send this to the Big Shot and be right back. So we've got that cut, and we can place this with our other elements for the card and put this to the side. So now let's go ahead and cut out our clouds. So I'm going to probably speed this up, but I am just cutting about 1/8 of an inch all the way around the cloud die. And this is going to give me a nice fun element to add to my cards. Now right here where you get the big and the medium together, you're just going to try to find the halfway point. So if it gets a little bit on the skinny side there, that's okay. And then you can go ahead and get back to about 1/8 of an inch. There's no exactness, just kind of do what you like and what feels comfortable to you. So I'm going to go ahead and speed this up, and we're going to cut out both the large and the medium cloud. Okay, so we've gone ahead and cut those out. So we have 3 cloud shapes. We're going to put those to this side. And the last thing we need to do is to stamp. And we're going to stamp again on our envelope. So grab that extra paper you have left over. We're going to stamp the whole greeting of You're Amazing in Melon Mambo, or whatever pink you're using. So if you don't have Melon Mambo and you're maybe using a different color, just make sure you're matching that to this background cardstock so that things kind of look like they're supposed to be together. If you want, you can go ahead and ink that with VersaMark again, and then ink it with your color and stamp it on your envelope. And then the last thing we're going to need to stamp for this card are your little happy lines. I don't know what they're called, but they make things look like you're really excited and happy. So we're going to stamp 2 of those, and we'll fussy cut those out as well. So to fussy cut, I'm going to do one of these, and you're just going to go around, and you want to leave a little bigger of a space around these just so they don't fall apart. And then when you get down, you can actually get down really close to that inside, and then once you've got, then you can kind of come back once you've hit the other line, if that makes sense. So you're going to come down, and then right when you hit about where the other line should start, you can come back out and then wrap around the next line. Kind of like that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and finish fussy cutting these and be right back. Okay, so I'm done fussy cutting these. You can see I got a little close to that dot on the eye, but that's okay. And we're just going to go ahead and add these to our card elements. And now we're ready to put our card together. So you're just going to start with your white card base and score that fold line. Add your Melon Mambo at an angle. And you can decide which angle to do it at. You just want it to be a nice, good angle so you can see that Melon Mambo peeking out from underneath the Just Jade cardstock. So before we add this Just Jade to our card base, we're going to add our other elements so that we can trim them off on the sides. So this again has a score line, so we're going to just hide that underneath, and so that's going to be at the bottom. So go ahead and add some adhesive, and you're going to place this in the top left corner, and you want those lines to be at an angle. And then again, smooth that glue out. Now we're going to add our large outline cloud, and this is just going to go right here on the right side over our sun, and it's going to come off the side a little bit. So just kind of get an idea of where you want to place the glue. So I know I want to have my last glue dot here and maybe about here. So that's where I'm going to kind of start adding my glue, and I'm just going to use some really tiny dots of liquid glue here, just barely enough, and I'm going to make sure it hits every corner and then every top part of the cloud, and maybe on these big ones a couple on the top. And then if they're a little bit heavy, those glue dots, then I'm just going to spread them out so that way I don't get a big puddle of glue on my card. So go ahead, you kind of want this to leave about an inch or so at the top, and line it up where you were going to place those glue dots, and then just gently add that to your card, like so. Next, we're going to add our large cloud, and you can choose whichever way you want. So this way has the top is the 3, so I think I'm going to do the top having the 4, just so there's a little bit of difference there. And I'm just going to add it to the left and below a little bit. So something like this. Okay, and then make sure to smooth that glue out. And then before we add the other elements, we're going to add our wink of Stella, just for a little bit of glimmer. So go ahead and add that, and you're going to place that all over your cloud. So if you need, you might need to squeeze just a little bit to get that flowing, and add that to your cloud all over. Whoops, now I've got too much coming out. That's okay. I'm just going to spread that around. So the stuff dries pretty quickly once it's on your card. There we go. All right. So we might have gotten a lot of Wink Stella on that card, so it's nice and shiny. So let's go ahead and add our last outline. We're just going to kind of go over that large one a little bit, give some dimension and texture, get an idea again of where you're going to add those glue dots. So I've got one in this corner and one a little bit further out on that side. And then add it to your card. And you do want it over that large cloud. You want those layers to be there. That's kind of what gives the card the interest, is all those different layers. Okay, can you see all that shininess there? All right, so let's go ahead and trim this. So take a pair of paper snips and turn it over, and then you can just trim it. If you wanted, you could use your paper trimmer as well. There is no right or wrong. Okay, so let's add this to our card, and this is going to be added at an angle. Grab your adhesive, and you just want an opposite angle. So if you brought the left corner up, you know, down, so that it's opposite. Then open it up, and so we're going to use the inside to smooth everything out here, because we don't want to accidentally pull up any of our pieces. So there's, everything is nice and smooth and shiny. Now we're going to add our greeting, and we're going to add that with some dimensionals. So again, if you feel like you need to use some smaller ones, go ahead and cut them down. We're going to place it over our large cloud. So it's tricky to center it and to keep it nice and straight when things are at an angle. So you kind of want to make sure that you can kind of keep everything nice and straight when you're adding your greeting. So it's fun that that's popped up. And then we're going to add our little lines, and just going to place a little bit of glue on the back of each one and add those to the card. If you have a pickup tool, this is really handy to pick up those small little elements. So place one down by the A, just above the A, and then place your other one just below the G, or wherever you want. Okay, like that. So the last thing we're going to add are the rhinestones again. And these again did not come in the kit. So they're like, a pack is like $5. So they're not too expensive. And you just add them wherever you want. I'm adding them a little further out in the card, just so they don't compete too much with my greeting. Okay, so that card is all done. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe, like, and share. Visit CreativeChelsey.com for more information about Paper Pumpkin and to start getting your monthly kit. Have a creative day. Bye.